I almost lost it all, but one thing I did save my crop. I'm talking about my winter crop that's in my greenhouse here. These are all cold hardy brassicas. I got carrots in here, broccolinis, kales, got some beets. Winter crops. So the idea with winter crops is that they're started at the end of the season, late summer, and they're ready to go by the fall, and then they stay alive in the greenhouse over winter. And by that time, you know, we'll be sealing this greenhouse up. But I noticed something that was happening in the area, and a number of the farmers in the area experience it every year, is that when it gets really, really hot, you get these grasshoppers that come on, and they're like locusts. Maybe they are locusts, but they will wipe out your entire garden. And I have a friend down the hill from me who's probably a couple hundred meters lower in elevation, and her garden just got absolutely decimated because she didn't do anything about it early on. And so I saw what was happening with her, and I decided to do something. I didn't want to lose my crop, so I went out and I bought some cheap insect netting. Now, this isn't the greatest insect netting. I certainly wouldn't want to use this on a farm scale. And the stuff I used to use on my farm, I couldn't get. So I found this. I just got this at the local, the farm supply. I don't even know the brand of it, but it's basically a wider netting. Each little mesh hole on here is maybe about 1/8 of an inch. And I got all this netting for my whole crop for about $200. And I put this on a couple weeks ago, and it has absolutely saved my crop, because these grasshoppers did show up here, and they are here now. I seem to not have as many of them as some other places lower down as me, but I do have them. And these things are ruthless, and they love tender plants. So anything that's young, they will just wipe out. And so I was able to put this stuff on, and it has saved my crop. So thankfully, by taking this action right away, I've got a crop for winter. You can even see some of the damage, and some of these haven't recovered from. I've actually noticed the odd grasshopper has been able to crawl under here, but it hasn't been so bad that they can wipe out the crop. Like these crops are growing well. These beets are doing really well. The beets at the very beginning were just getting hammered by these things. And my carrots, there's no way my carrots would have survived at all, because they love just tender carrot shoots. So none of this would have really survived if I didn't put this netting on. So, you know, a fairly simple and effective solution to save the entire crop. Now just imagine if the scenario that it looks like the world is going into, a new world of scarcity, you know, the controlled demolition of Western culture, if you will. But there are food shortages coming. In fact, in many places around the world that are already here, and we've already seen a lot of scarcity, supply chain issues, coupled with the fact that the sort of Western globalist governments want to destroy the entire petroleum-based industrial agricultural industry, which they created and profited from, but now they want to destroy it. And so that's going to hurt food production around the world. And just imagine if this was my food, my only option for food in the winter. Now, that's probably not that far off of a scenario, but just imagine how us doing something like this, acting quickly on your crop, could potentially save your life. Now, I don't say this to try to scaremonger you. I just think it's a reality of the time that we're living in right now. And these kinds of things are critically important. And I guess the first principles message that I'd like to leave you with in this video isn't just, hey, use insect netting to protect yourself from grasshoppers or white moths we also have. That's part of it. But the main thing is that if you really value your crops and you want to make sure that you get your crops, you have to watch. You have to see what's going on. You have to pay attention. You know, this whole thing of just set it and forget it. That's not how that's doesn't work that way. You have to watch your crops, look for patterns, and if you see problems, you have to act fast, especially with fall crops, because the thing with the fall is that My daylight hours are diminishing every single day now. Nighttime temperatures are cooling every single day now. If you screw up your fall crops, you don't get a second chance. You only get one chance to do it. So you want to make sure that, you're more forgiving on the front end than on the back end. So, you start to get things in the ground for fall. Really, you could be starting them as nursery plugs at the end of June, early July. That's what some of these were started. But you're really doing a lot of the active field work late July, early August. A lot of this was transplanted early August, end of July. These carrots were seeded the first week of August. So if you're going to make any changes and you notice things that you can, maybe to replant something, you have to do it right away, because as you get closer to the fall equinox, your daylight hours continuously decrease. And so your chance of recovery becomes less and less. And that's why it's so important to act fast if you see problems, especially going into the fall. Anyways, I thought I would share this video with you guys. It was a fun little lesson for me. As I'm out in the country now, not in the city, I'm dealing with a whole other plethora of pests that I had never dealt with in the fact. One of the biggest advantages that I found in urban farming is that there's just a lot less. There's less biodiversity in a city than there is in the country, essentially. And you'll have less pest problems, but you'll have other kinds of pest problems. You'll probably have, homeless people coming and stealing your food every now and then, which I certainly did. Not a lot, but I did. Those would be that would be my pest problem in the city. Now I've got to deal with actual legitimate insect pressure and such. And these are the kinds of things that you need to employ if you run into problems. Of course, if you set up your garden properly and you have a perfectly balanced soil, a nice diversity of crops, all these kinds of things, you'll have less pest problems as well, and that's part of it. But when you're getting started, like I am, just getting started on new land, you got to kind of deal with problems as they come. You're reacting to some of the things that are going to be happening around you. Anyways, folks, I wanted to leave it there for this one, share this little lesson with you. And if you want to see my daily vlogs, I've been vlogging pretty much every single day this whole season. You can head over to fromthefield.tv and check up on the progress that we've had on the homestead here. I'm going to start to slow the vlogs down a little bit as the season is starting to slow down, and I'm working on some other projects up here. All right, folks, we'll see you in the next one.